A man saved a drowning wolf pup, but then the pack surrounded him, and something incredible happened. The wind swept off the coastal cliffs, carrying the wolves' howls into the ravines, scattering them among the snowy walls. Marcus Levin stood knee-deep in snow, pressing the camera lens to his eye, patiently waiting. For 4 days straight, he had been waking up before dawn, hoping to capture the calls of the pack that had settled somewhere among the frozen shrubs at the base of the northern slope. His camera was long covered in frost, his fingers barely responsive, but he stayed put. Experience had taught him, when nature goes silent, it's about to say something important. He didn't know that a few kilometers from his hiding spot, a chain of events had already begun, events that would soon change his life. Later, back at camp, while reviewing the footage, one of the local hunters told him about a rare pack of black wolves spotted near the Woken River. Locals avoided these wolves, believing them to be something like ghosts, harbingers of winter and misfortune. But for Marcus, this was an opportunity. The next day, he set out across the frozen plains, heading toward the river where thick layers of ice still clung to the slopes despite the approaching spring. There, on the very edge of the icy bank, he noticed a dark spot. At first, he thought it was a bird or a rock, but as he looked closer, he realized it was a small, living creature, barely moving, as if trying to stand. Lying in front of him was a wolf pup, very young, alone, with an obviously injured leg. Understanding that any attempt to approach could cause the ice to collapse, Marcus removed his backpack to lighten his weight and began carefully moving toward the animal. He knew danger lurked beneath the thin layer of snow, fast-moving water under the ice, capable of pulling him under in an instant. Step by step, tense with each movement, he finally reached the pup. The little wolf didn't run, though it tried to growl weakly and without threat. Its eyes were full of fear and pain, but there was no aggression. Marcus gently lifted it into his arms, holding it against his chest, and at that very moment, the ice cracked beneath them. The fall was instant. Icy water closed over his head, freezing him to the bone. He held on to the pup tightly, instinctively, as if the survival of both their lives depended on it. Guided by light and the direction of the current, he managed to surface and grab the edge of the ice. His fingers slipped several times, but he never let go of the animal. After several desperate attempts, the ice gave way, and Marcus pulled himself onto the shore, exhausted, soaked to the bone, clutching the trembling creature. Later, as he warmed by the fire, he couldn't believe he was still alive. The pup, wrapped in a blanket, lay beside him almost still. It didn't try to run. It even pressed closer, as if some instinct told it this man was not a threat. 2 weeks passed. Marcus returned to his work, but every evening he remembered that day. The look in the pup's eyes, the cracking ice, and the unexpected touch of an adult wolf's snout when the pack found them by the river. He never imagined it would all repeat, but this time with him in a different role. It happened on a gray evening when snow began to fall. He had set out along a dangerous trail by the cliffs, hoping to film the snowstorm swirling over the forest. The section he walked on had survived a recent landslide but was unstable. He didn't notice when the ledge started to crumble beneath his. In an instant, he fell into a ravine filled with snow and broken tree trunks. Regaining consciousness, he felt sharp pain in his leg, most likely a fracture. His radio beacon had been thrown aside somewhere. There was no signal. The wind grew stronger, bringing a worsening blizzard. Every attempt to move brought pain, and so he lay still, staring at the gray sky, realizing that help might not come. When he heard approaching footsteps, he first thought it was a hallucination. Then a silhouette appeared, a black wolf with a white patch on its chest. The pup, now grown, but still recognizable. It approached slowly, sniffed his clothing, and gently pressed its snout to his face. Moments later, he disappeared into the snowstorm. Marcus was already drifting into unconsciousness when he heard someone approaching again. At first, the footsteps sounded distant, like echoes in a snowy void. But with each second, they became clearer, heavier, more certain. Through the veil of the blizzard, silhouettes emerged. Black, sleek, confident. It was a pack. 5 adult wolves moved slowly, without hurry, as if they knew exactly where they were going and why. Leading them was the alpha, large, with a piercing gaze full of awareness. Walking just beside him was the same wolf pup, now nearly grown, but still marked by the distinctive white patch on its chest. In his jaws, the young wolf carried Marcus's radio beacon. The device glinted in his mouth like a trophy or an offering. The wolf carefully placed it beside the man and stepped back, leaving it within reach. One of the adult wolves came up to Marcus and stood next to him, pressing its warm body against his, as if trying to share its heat. Another, silently and with eerie precision, gripped the edge of Marcus's jacket with its teeth, as if checking whether the man was still alive, causing no harm at all. They surrounded him in a close circle, not hostile, but protective. Their bodies shielded him from the wind. Their paws sank silently into the snow, and around the man rose a living wall, a wall of breath, warmth, and strength. Time seemed to stop. In that silence and cold, he felt his heartbeat begin to steady again, his breath return. He didn't understand how it was possible, but he knew they hadn't come by chance. 2 hours later, a rescue team in a helicopter found the man, half buried in snow, surrounded by motionless wolves. Not a single one moved, until the rescuers came closer. Only when hands reached out for Marcus did the alpha give a low growl, and the pack disappeared into the twilight like shadows. Once Marcus had fully recovered, he realized he had become part of something that defied science and logic. He had saved a pup, and the pack had not forgotten. Since then, that wolf, the one with the white patch, had appeared more than once on the horizon. Sometimes he merely watched from afar. Other times he came closer and sat nearby, as if waiting for Marcus to finish filming. Once he even lay down beside him, as if guarding him. The local hunters, who had once looked at the stranger with a camera in amusement, now called him something else, the man recognized by the pack. Even the most superstitious among them began to speak of wolves with respect and with quiet in their voices. Marcus never wrote a scientific paper about it. He continued to film, but now every frame carried a new meaning, warm, personal. Somewhere out there, among the forest and rocks, they remembered him. And maybe they were grateful. Dear viewers, what do you think of this story? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.